Welcome to our video. I'm Marshall Shannon with Ministry Design Concepts. This is a video laser lesson, and I want to answer the question, what is the secret to building high-performance ministry teams for your church? So as we go through this, let's look at some preliminary things. First is, to summarize church in North America, every church had better be doing well the following four things that are on the screen. You better be reaching people, keeping them, building them, and engaging them. If you're not reaching people with the gospel and keeping them so that you can build them into fully devoted and developed disciples, followers of Christ, who in turn will make other disciples, and you engage them in ministry, your ministry probably is stalled out and stuck, or it's shrinking and sinking. And you may find that you're kind of plateaued. And so if this is you, then this information is intended to help you get your ministry unstuck, to stop the shrinkage, to stop the sinking, so that you can once again begin to surge forward, and so your ministry can succeed at the Great Commission. Now, you may apply your ministry teams to one of these four areas, and they may carry over from ministry to ministry, or you may look and say, we're going to set up our ministry teams according to the programs in our church, the projects, the events that we hold in our calendar year, and the activities that we do on a regular basis. Any way that you're going to set up your ministry, it is important that you understand that you need to discover some things, design some things, make some deliveries, and give direction to your ministry teams, or you're not going to succeed. Just doing what you've always done is going to get what you've always gotten. Albert Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again the same way and expecting a different result. So as we go through this, I have 5 suggestions for you, just 5. They're rather simple. It'd be good for you to take notes, think through this, pray through this, maybe pull together a couple people to help you discover the things you need to discover so you can design your teams, your ministry teams, for whatever ministries you're doing, or if you're breaking it into these parts, so that you can implement it and then monitor and manage it so you can carry your ministry forward. So I have some preliminary questions for you. What would you say is the secret to designing and developing high-performance ministry teams? If someone were to ask you for a quick answer, say like we're doing this laser lesson where we just pretend in between the salad and your dessert that I'm going to answer in 30 to 40 minutes a particular question trying to solve a particular challenge or problem in a ministry. What would you say to them? And when it comes to you as the ministry leaders, what does it take to build profitable ministry teams? Well, I'm going to answer that with 4 Ds. The first one is it takes determination. You've got to have your will, and you have decided that you're going to build profitable ministry teams. Secondly, it takes diligence to keep at it. Thirdly, it takes discipline to use your time and other resources wisely so that when you are carrying out your due diligence, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to discover, design, and implement these teams. It takes discernment, God-given wisdom, to be able to build profitable ministry teams. And it takes attention to details. So you may ask, well, why do I want to build them? We've been doing ministry the same way for so long. It seems to be working okay, but you just sense deep down in your soul that you're not reaching your God-given potential. Then I would tell you that you need to understand and have it settled, because you're going to have to convince people why build them. Well, the first one is you want to impact for eternity, transform lives. And then you want better results. So you want eternal impact for eternity, and you want to have better results from your work. I mean, do you want to go work and work and work and work and not have any results? Or would you rather take in all that determination and diligence and discipline and discernment and the attention to details, and you're working and working day and night, week in and week out? Don't you want your ministry teams to get better results so you win more people to Christ? Aren't souls at stake? And I believe the answer is yes. So let me give you the first of 5 suggestions. The first one is, go study the best teams you can find. They may be a church or another kind of ministry, a business where you can talk to some businessmen about how they assemble and design their business teams to work. You can talk to other nonprofits. You can talk to sports teams. And you need to have a clear understanding of the purpose for doing this, for studying the best teams you can find, is you're looking for insight. And you want to gain some direction for designing and developing your ministry teams in your church. And so as you go through this, you're going to have to convince the other leaders in your church that we need to give some time to study, because they're already busy, aren't they? I mean, almost every evening and every part of their weekend is bought up with ministry or family or some work responsibility that they've got, or community service, and how you've got to go tell them, listen, we need to go look at this. And the first step is just to borrow some brains. How do we do this? How are we going to do the next one? And you've got to explain why you're doing the study. And this leads to the second suggestion. The second suggestion, I would tell you to structure and string together your ministry teams. You're going to structure them by organizing them in a certain way. And so as you go through this, I have given you at the bottom of this, of your computer screen, if you want to pause it and scroll down, you'll see 2 links that will take you to an organizational checklist laser lesson and an organizational checklist video training series. In it, we cover 89, in the series, we cover 89 checkpoints for your ministry to make certain that you have structured it and not miss any main gaps, not to have holes. Your programs and projects, events, and activities will greatly appreciate you covering all the bases when it comes to the following things. Here's just 10 or 11 things. Every part of your church needs to have a clearly defined purpose. Your philosophy of ministry needs to be understood and followed. Your game plan for the overall program or project, event, or activity, but also for the ministry team that you are structuring, needs to have a clear purpose, a clear philosophy of ministry, a clear game plan for what they're going to do, a program, if that is a part of it, the processes they are to follow, the individual procedures that are a part of your program that fit inside your game plan, policies that rule the way, the do's and don'ts, personnel that are going to be on the team, the people that they're going to be ministering to, and what you're going to require of them as they perform their duties. You want to structure it, and then you want to string your ministry teams together so they're connected. You want them orchestrated, organized, collaborated, and coordinated together so that they are going to accomplish the overall ministry. Back to that, one of those first slides I showed you, where you're going to reach people, keep people, build people, and engage them in ministry. When you do that, structure it so it is all strung together, so it all is connected. So you're going to build community within a community within a community through your ministry teams in your church. The third of 5 suggestions, and this is the longest one we're going to cover, so grab your pen, take some notes, don't hesitate to pause the video and to scribble down some things. I've given you a bunch of information as documents and resources and links to websites to help you with this as you enrich At least I want you to enrich your study so that you can answer for yourself what is the secret to building high-performance ministry teams in your church. Here's the third one, and that is the selection process. After you've structured your ministry teams and you have strung them together so that they're working as a whole unit, not siloed, but as joint ministry teams connected together in a community of your church to allow them to work together. A good resource on this, if you're wondering how to do it, is Simple Church by Thom Rainer. So you're going to go select the people, and you want to get the right people in the right place. Jim Collins talks about this in his book, Good to Great. But you want to get the right people in the right place at the right time doing the right things. And so as you do this, let me give you just a quick portrait of 3 things that I believe you ought to be looking for as you select your high-performance ministry team members. The first one is that they ought to have the right attitude. You know, attitude just makes and breaks leaders. It makes and breaks followers too. They ought to have the right aptitude. My father, who fought in the Second World War and served in the Army in the Airborne Division, they gave him a test to test his aptitude. That was his natural ability, his raw talent, how he was put together. And I've added a third one to help you understand that people are shaped by their environment, by their experience, by their opportunities, by their desires and passions, and so they develop what I have just coined a silly word, aptitude. Aptitude is just a way for me to talk to you about the nurtured abilities that your people have developed. They are skills that they have practiced, and it yields an aptitude where they have not just a natural bent, an aptitude, a natural talent, but they have cultivated their abilities, and they have an aptitude to carry out or do a certain thing. You're looking for the right people to put in the right place in your ministry, on the right team, at the right time, doing the right things. Now, there is a process to the selection. In it, as you go through this, let me just give you a rundown, and I put them into three ways. So I've combined 7 things into 3. First, you've got to evaluate people, and I'm going to talk to you in just a few moments about some ways and some tools to do that, and then you've got to invite them, enlist them to be on your ministry team. It can't be just an open invitation, because you better evaluate what are you trying to do. In the selection process, you want to get the right people in the right place. So you want to take control of evaluating your church family and enlisting the right people to get the right people in the right place. Then you want to equip them and educate them for the task that they're going to do at the right time, doing the right things. You're going to equip them and educate them. And then thirdly, you're going to empower them, enable them, give them permission. You're going to engage them. This is where you're going to engage them. You're going to put the transmission into gear to move your ministry forward. You're going to engage them in ministry, and then you're going to need to encourage them. I'm trying to give these to you in capsule form before I kind of drill down deeper into what you're going to do in the selection process and give you some of the finer points of this. So let's continue talking about the selection process as a part of building high-performance ministry teams. You better get the right people. That's what you're selecting. As you've structured it, now you're going to select the right people. And you want to look at their potential. Everyone has potential, and you need to be able to identify the potential in people. Years ago, when I was 9 years of age, I had played Little League Baseball in Mobile, Alabama for 1 season. My dad had got me an old glove. Really, it was a new glove, but it's out of existence now. I don't know where it is. It was kind of made of vinyl. It was just a cheap glove to find out what potential I had. And he had a glove, and we stood in the front yard, and he said, "Marshall, catch the ball, and he'd toss it to me underhand, and then as I began to catch it and could throw it back to him, he taught me how to throw overhand, how to flip the ball from my waist out, how to throw overhand and sidearm and underhand, and he was trying to see what potential I had. Well, my second season, and I had played in left field as an eight-year-old, just a little guy being introduced to the game. And then I remember the second season, he had put me in the infield, and he brought me in from shortstop when the guy that was pitching wasn't doing well and we were going to get beat, and he handed me the ball at the mound and said, "Throw strikes." Well, it took me a season to learn what in the world a strike was and watching and observing the game, but he saw potential. I pitched until I hurt my arm at 15 years of age, and had a good career as a little guy up into high school throwing strikes. Well, he saw a certain potential there, a raw potential, and you need to be able to look and see people's potential as God has brought them into your church and how God wants you to use them. So let me go to the next one, and that is to look at their personality. When you stop and look at their personality, everybody has a shape. By shape, I mean their spiritual gifts. By H, I mean their heart or their passions. By A, I mean their abilities, both nature, what God gave them in the womb, and nurtured, back to the aptitude, what they have nurtured of their skill sets. The P stands for their personality, and the E stands for their experience. And so you can give and use a shape test that is available through Rick Warren's ministry, a disc profile, which is, you can just Google disc profile and it's going to give you for $8 to $20. You can buy a disc profile. D stands for dominant, I for influence, S for steady, and C for compliant. And it puts people into 4 categories and shows you how people have maybe 2 of these categories, maybe 1 is dominant in their characteristic. For instance, I'm almost off the charts of I, but I also have the 50%, 48 and 49%, the S and C, and I forget where my D was, but I'm predominantly an influencer by my disc profile. Then there's Place Ministries, which is a Christian ministry. Jay set this up, and they help ministries place people into the right ministry in their church, and it looks at their shape. And so that's a ministry. I think it's $8, $10 a person. You can get a preliminary perusal of their shape and gives you some idea of it. And all of these tools are tools that can help you. There's equipme.org and other sites that you can get to, but this will get you started with it. Strength Finders is another one, and there's Strength Finders for leadership. There's another one that is used like Place Ministries, and the disc profile is yourlifespathway.com. And so all of these are below in the resource section. We'll put them all there for you, and you can click and go look and see which one will be the best tools for you to use. But if you don't know these things exist, you can't really make good use of them. So when dealing with people, look for their potential, their personality, their perspective on life and ministry, their passion. Often we're just looking for warm bodies, but why not looking for somebody who is just red hot after ministering to senior adults, or they want to reach single parents and minister to them, or they have a burden for CEOs, CFOs, and CIOs, or the other end, the blue-collar workers, or they've got a real burden for a certain ethnic group in your ministry, and they feel passionate about reaching them because they see such tremendous need and potential. And so you want to look at their passion. So let me ask you, what do you look for in a potential team member? You should look for, and I'm going to give you 3 things. You should look at their character. By their character, I'm saying, who are they when no one else is looking? What are they at their very core. As you peel the onion back of this person and get down to the very core of who they are, what is their character? How do they live out their faith? There's a big difference between someone's habits and their character. Even though our habits become our character, you want to look how they live out their faith. Words are cheap. Talk is cheap. Living out their faith works, takes commitment. And so you want to look and see how they live out their faith in Christ. Are they willing to be measured to help them improve? How did you answer that question? You know, if they're not willing to be examined, evaluated, investigated, watched, and observed, are they willing to be measured in their performance so they can improve? It takes character for someone to die to themselves, take up their cross, and follow Christ. So the second one is competency. You know, what are their capabilities? They should have a skill set. What are the key skill sets your team needs? And you begin to get the right person in the right place on the right team at the right time doing the right task. And so they have a skill set. What would you say their skill set is? What would you say their talents are? In other words, as a skill set, often you'll find it's very good for a ministry team to have problem solvers and someone who can deal and resolve conflict, but also maybe someone who is made up like an engineer and they're analytical. And they're looking at your performance and they're analyzing it and diagnosing it and helping you identify where you need to improve. But you're looking for skill sets and talent. And skill set is to do certain things, and their talents can be something different than their skill set. But you're looking for capabilities and their capacity. So as you look for skill gaps in your team, you're looking for people with certain skill sets and talent to fill that position or fill that need on your team so they can carry out their ministry. Everyone has a capacity. What is their bandwidth? Do they own their own development? What is their capacity to grow and serve? Do they own their own ongoing development? Are they coachable? Are they teachable, trainable? Then let's talk about their chemistry. What about their code and core match? You've got to understand who your team code is, and you put people on there that match the very core of who the team is. A hard time for you in your ministry will be if you do not discern not only your congregational code, and we talk about this in our series on understanding and discovering your congregational code, but you have every ministry team has a code. And are you able to understand what it is, not to put the wrong person and violate the code of the group? What about their core values? What are their priorities? What about a cultural fit? What about the course, the mission that you're on? And so as you begin to look at these things and you want to look and see, do they culturally fit in? Culture is what you want to be the norms for your teams and ministries, the belief system, the worldview, the things that are accepted and things that are not accepted, in other words, the taboos that you don't do. And so you have some to-dos and some to-not-dos. You've got a mission for the group and a vision for them. And so what is the mission and what is the vision? Do they fit in as a chemistry? Let me ask you this. As you look at the chemistry of the people, do they fit into the community? Will they be a good or great team member on a particular ministry team in your church? If you have a family-type atmosphere, will they treat others like family? Will they fit into your definition of what a team is to be and do and accomplish? Are you trying to develop community among your team members? You can create and nurture and protect your community and invite people to join by finding people who have the right chemistry. And so You know, you go to do ministry and you're trying to build a team to carry out a certain program or project, or to reach a certain group of people in your community, or an assimilation team to keep them, or a disciple-making team to make disciples, or it's that of engaging people, so you've got a service team that is helping people find their place in ministry in and through your church and in your community. And you're doing this and you're trying to put together chemistry. You don't want to put the wrong disc profile. We'll give you certain people, for instance, the I's and the S's fit together often on teams, and the D's and the C's fit together. It's a hard lesson to learn when you put 2 or 3 D's, dominant personality, and now they're all arm wrestling for control of the ministry team of your committee, and it's just counterproductive. You end up having to put out fires all the time. That doesn't build community. There's not a joyful experience of people who have good chemistry together. You want to make certain that you find the right people, and you want a place where people know each other deeply, serve each other willingly, and genuinely care for one another. Your ministry teams ought to be a place where people celebrate together and they mourn together. It's really almost more important than the work they're doing, because you're building communities. And so some principles for creating community through your ministry teams. Remember, you structure them and then string them together so you don't have silos in your ministry, but they're all together, connected, open and helping and working together. As you do this, I would tell you, go slow. Don't force it. Number 2, celebrate the little things as well as the big ones when you have wins. Number 3, express gratitude and appreciation among them, and teach your committees to do this. Teach the leader of the ministry team to build this kind of culture in the community. Put the needs of the team ahead of your own. Be vulnerable. Think of activities the team members can do together both at church and away from church. So it's not all just, well, we come together, we serve, and then we leave. You want to intertwine and string the committees together, and then you want to structure and string the individuals on the committees. You want to string their lives together. You want to connect them together. So as we look at this, and here's something that's not mentioned very often. James Emery White has mentioned this, I believe, in his book, Rethinking Church, and on a recent blog that he wrote about, is the person catalytic? By that, do they energize and spur people and stir them up in the faith? Do they add, let's get it done type mentality? Are they catalytic to the ministry team? So good chemistry means you got people that are drivers, and they blend well with others, and everybody looks forward to getting together. How you can tell you've got good teams is when you observe them and they are living life together outside of your church ministry, because they are attracted and easily attached together to do ministry. Why not make it enjoyable? And so here is the 4th of 5 suggestions. We're moving from that of studying what others are doing, structuring it, and selecting the right people. Now we're going to deal with schooling. And this is where you're going to educate, you're going to teach people, you're going to give them information, and you're going to help them develop. So you deal with academics and teaching and information. Then you're going to equip them. You're going to train them, and you're going to interact and give them internship, a period of time where they're testing out and trying it out and working it out. You're going to let them involve themselves in ministry and put their toe in the water, and you're going to give them a chance to invest yourself and themselves in what you're teaching them. So this is a disciple-making process, actually, where you educate them. That's where the academia comes in, where you're teaching them and giving them information. And now you're going to equip them. You're going to train them. You're going to interact with them and give them an internship time where they are going to involve themselves in the ministry and learn. So they're going to observe and they're going to take part. And so you're dealing with their heads and their hands. And then you better make certain that they're motivated. And when I say motivated, that they are evolving and their heart and passion and their yearning and desire is to be involved in what that ministry team is doing. And they look at the eternal potential of the ministry that you're entrusting them with, and they are going to evolve. They are going to have to be given time to develop. And that's what I mean by evolving. Growing, maturing, developing. And it requires immersion in what you're doing. They're not going to see the full picture of what that ministry team is doing right away. It's going to be peeled back like an onion or in layers or moving one curtain after another until they finally get and the fog clears and it lifts and they go, oh, that's what you mean. It takes time. Schooling takes time. And so you want to make certain that people are getting what they need. So yes, you give them academics. You put them into action through equipping them. And you give them assistance during the evolving time where they are immersed in the teaching and the training. And you're schooling them and preparing them so that they can then go forth and do what they've been called to do. So people need to be motivated. You need to help them accept change. You want to, in making disciples who are going to be good team members, it requires all three of these, educating, equipping, and evolving them in ministry. You want to look at their spirit. And so as we go through this, here is the fifth of 5 suggestions. You want to look at their spirit. You want to develop a culture where those serving on your teams have established a spirit or a heart for one another and those they serve. How are you going to build a good ministry team? Is when they have God's perspective on why they're doing what they're doing, and they've allowed God to produce the fruit of the Spirit in their life. And your ministry teams, it has to be more than just a job to them. You've got to be willing to share your life and invest in them, and they've got to be willing to invest in others on the team and in the people that they're trying to either reach or keep or build or engage in ministry. So you want to create a ministry team culture. This is their beliefs and their behavior and what they're going to be. So their creed, their conduct, and their character, if you want to put it down that way, and that's how you want to pull it together. And so you want to create a ministry team culture. You want to know what is acceptable, what is taboo, what is the key focus of the group, what do you want the team spirit to be, and what the investment of time and activity. Years ago, when I was a youth pastor in Alabama, I was also given the responsibility to teach in the Christian school that was there with the church. And I taught 3 Bible classes and 3 physical ed classes, taught PE. And then I was given the responsibility to coach the varsity basketball and the varsity baseball team. I learned so much in one season of doing this because I had grown up playing sports and my dad coaching. And so I was a second generation coach, and I began to formulate, to form, to structure how and what kind of coach I was going to be and how we were going to approach the game. Well, fortunately for me, I'd grown up playing basketball and baseball and understood the mechanics and understood some strategies and understood what it meant to play on championship teams because I had had the privilege of playing on a number of them. And so in doing that, I want you to understand that your culture is so important for you to build it so that people know, you know, this is just what we do. This is who we are. This is what we believe, and this is how we conduct ourselves. You want to build a high-performance ministry team, you better design and develop what spirit you want on that team. and they had better care for one another and be willing to invest their time and activity in other people. So as we look at this, they want to invest their time on campus and off campus. You want a team that is bound together and that likes to be together. And so let me ask you, do you see them? As a senior pastor, our ministry teams at times, you found them going out to eat together, over at each other's homes, going to community activities together, not because they were working as a church ministry team in that community thing, but because they wanted to be together. Some of them went on vacation together, and they loved being together. And guess what? It made the activities we did just powerful, successful, blossomed. We accomplished our purpose. And so as you look at this, stop and look at the Spirit. Borrow what I'm giving you, plug it into your ministry, set it to be your own, and run after this. And so let me summarize the 5 suggestions. I want to pull it all together for you. What makes for a powerful team concept is to combine the key elements that form your highly productive team into your own secret sauce. So you want to make your own secret sauce. Implementing your secret sauce for winning teams will have its own set of challenges. You're going to have to battle your way through in your own journey to customize what your ministry teams look like when they're highly productive. High-performance ministry teams are going to be different from ministry to ministry. They can have the 5 suggestions, the 5 components that I have suggested to you. But as you do this, yours might look completely different than others. It will require change on the part of your leaders and the followers. How will you make this happen in a productive way? Well, you've got to teach people and train them and test them and give some time to it. So there is a ministry in your building your teams for your church. And so as you go through this, how are you going to help your teams move to the next level of high performance? What do they focus on first, second, and third? You need to tell them or help them figure it out for themselves. You want to distill what you have learned into a personalized formula for success in your church. In other words, here, take a formula. It's this plus this plus this that equals a high-performance ministry team. Write your own formula up. You may say, well, we've got to look for the right people, the right character, with the right skill sets, and the right heart. That's going to equal a high-performance team. That's what we're looking for. That's how we're going to blend this together. And you come up with your own formula for your own culture and your own language and your own formula for building high-performance ministry teams. Because you can't just borrow from everybody else. It's not wrong to go see what they're doing and borrow ideas, but eventually you've got to go back to what I said. Discover, design, develop, and to give direction to your ministry teams. You've got to go through your own ministry design process to come up with an innovative way for you to build, design and build high-performance ministry teams in your church. So remember to give people time to adjust and adapt. They're not just going to do it overnight. Consider a pilot program to test your new ministry team approach. Don't think that what you're going to do is going to work the first time. One way to kind of ease into this is to have a pilot program and to test it and to run your new ministry and be able to adapt and adjust and make changes. Personnel, the place, the program, the purpose, the people, the personnel, the cost of it, the policies and procedures and processes that you follow. Test it. Test it. So there are the 5 suggestions. Well, I'm Marshall Shannon, your pre-construction navigator, ministry design coach, At either one of these two websites will take you to us. The Ministry Design Training is where you can subscribe and get this training or buy them as individual products. And the Ministry Design Concepts is where you'll find our blog post and our services and a bio about us on that website. You can reach me at this email address or either one of these phone numbers. We'll be happy to help you as you move your ministry forward for Christ. May the Lord bless your every effort to design and develop high-performance ministry teams in your church.